Я подтверждение ситуации передаю на стройку. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
I hear you.
You see me?
I see you. I hear you. I wish I could be you.
So, it's time.
What are you, Michael Buffer?
Yeah, that's right.
Are you Michael
It's
Buffer?
time.
It is time for Season 5 of the Talking Lead AK Corner. This is the kickoff episode for Season 5, so welcome back, all you lead heads that have been missing the AK Corner. We skipped a month, the month of January. If you listen to the last podcast, it's been a hectic December and January, so I apologize about that, but we will be back on schedule starting with this episode. And joining me to kick off Season 5 is our good friend and your uncle, Uncle Paul Markel. Ladies and
I guess I get called a lot of stuff, but
Professor,
that's a good one.
Uncle, Pimp Hand. What other nicknames you got?
Well, my grandbaby calls me Paga.
And then, okay, Paga, there's one.
And Grandma is Maga. So Maga and Paga.
Is that like MAGA, Make America Great Again? Is that Make Granny Great Again? MAGA?
Well, we didn't prompt that. And if anybody who has grandbabies, you don't prompt them. They tell you. You just wait until they start talking, and then they pick it.
They name you, huh?
Yeah, Ruth was, 18 months, and she couldn't say grandma, but she pointed at Nancy and said Maga.
Said MAGA.
And so,
that's what it was, huh?
Yep, so she became Maga, and I became Paga, and that's it, man.
I know a lot of people plan on, like, priors, like, all right, this is what I want to be called by the grandbaby. And because normally you've got like two sets of grandparents, and one of them gets butthurt because the other one gets the cool grandparent name or whatever.
Good nickname, yeah.
Yeah, the good nickname, and but it usually turns out completely different, like you said, because the baby usually dictates what all that's going to be.
The babies pick it. Yeah, the babies pick it. Like
do a complete
you
180.
Say, I want to be called Derp Derp Derp. You're like, it's not really up.
Dirt. Good old derp derp derp. So we got Paga joining us for the kickoff here. So for those of you who are new to the AK Corner, maybe this is the first time you've tuned in. This is our 5th season. We started 5 years ago. Started this thing called the AK Corner, and it is designed to be educational, fun, informative, and have a good time, basically, learning about the AK platform. When I first started this, I didn't really know much about the AK-47 other than what I'd seen in the movies. It was always the bad guy rifle, the AK-47. That's what the evil people used in the movies and the enemies in those war movies, Vietnam, and you'd watch those old movies. But it has come a long way, baby. You remember those Virginia Slim commercials?
Oh yeah, they used to. What's funny is the Virginia Slims. They used to buy full page ads in magazines like Cosmopolitan and stuff like that. Yeah, you come a long way, baby.
Come a long way, baby. Those cigarette commercials. They can't advertise cigarettes anymore, can they? Is that against the law or something?
And people still buy them. It's funny.
Still probably one of the most purchased items.
They don't advertise cocaine, but people keep buying it.
They don't advertise cocaine either, do they? Well, you don't see many advertisements for AKs either, as far as magazines go, other than gun magazines. I have seen some TV commercials for firearms companies. Have you seen any of those? Not like on mainstream media, but like the outdoor channels?
Actually, no, it was a knife company. I saw Benchmade Knives bought a spot on a football game. I wasn't watching the football game on purpose. I was in a bar where it was on, and I looked and then I saw the Benchmade butterfly, and then I was like, oh, that's interesting.
Yeah. And for those of you who need to educate yourself, Paul Markel is the host and creator of Student of the Gun podcast, which I'm sure a lot of our listeners are your listeners. We do a lot of crossovers there. But if you haven't, as Paul says, you need to fix yourself, correct yourself, and go subscribe and listen to Student of the Gun. It's on any of the major podcasting apps. And then, of course, the website, Student of the Gun, is it .com?
Yep.
Yep.
studentofthegun.com.
STOG for short.
SOTG.
That's what I said, SOTG.
You see.
ST, student. I went with the ST. But Paul, welcome in. Thank you so much for joining me for our season 5 kickoff.
You are most certainly welcome, my friend.
And you're festive, kind of in the militant mood. It looks like you've got your green beret.
Yeah, I'm wearing this because I wanted to. My focus is on the citizen soldier, and you've read the Patriot Fire Team book, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, you got the original Patriot Fire Team book.
As far I didn't know there was another one, but
well, there's 3.
Oh, okay.
There's 3. There's actually 3 books, and I was recently asked. They said, "Would you consider taking the 3 books and just compiling them into one volume so that somebody could purchase just the one thing?"
Yeah.
And I said, "Okay, I'm a writer. I can do that. I have the capability.
You have the technology. We can rebuild him.
We have the technology. We have the capability. We can rebuild him." So, little Steve Austin,
$6 million man. Google it.
Yeah. All right. Quick aside. I grew up watching that. Right.
Oh, I did too.
In elementary school, watching $6 Million Man. I wanted the $6 Million Man action figure. That was the hotness.
Oh yeah.
For Christmas gifts, like in '74 or '78 or whatever. I don't remember. One of it might be Paramount Network. One of the app television networks.
Uh-huh.
They went into the vault and they dug out the $6 Million Man.
Really?
So you can watch them now. They're terrible. They're terrible.
Isn't that the case for most of those old, we grew up with the TV shows? You go back and you watch them now, and you're like, oh, how did
your memories? My memories were destroyed.
But at the time, that was cream of the crop, baby.
At the time, it was crazy because it was science fiction. It was what if we took an astronaut who crashed and made him a bionic man? And you realize the first episode was released in '73.
Really? 1973?
So it's been 50 years.
That explains, I guess, why I didn't personally have the toys, but I got 2 older brothers. And I got their hand-me-downs, So they had the $6 Million Man, the big, I don't know, they were
action
like
figure.
20 inches or something. Yeah, they were the big.
The one that was the size of an old G.I. Joe.
Yeah, and that's
like
what
the real G.I. Joes.
And he had that hole in the back of his head to where you could look through his bionic eye.
You could look through his bionic eye, and you could roll it. They had the rubber sleeves.
Yeah.
And he had the bionic chips in his arm and his legs and stuff.
His chest.
Yeah. The red tracksuit.
Oh yeah. That was classic. And then his enemy, that robot that you could change the faces on it.
Oh yeah.
I don't even remember that guy being in an episode, but I guess he was.
Yeah, I don't remember that, but I remember Oscar Goldman. His boss. If you guys watch that movie, the 40-Year-Old Virgin, when Seth Rogen walks into Steve Carell's house or his apartment, and he goes, "Is that Oscar Goldman? Do you have Steve Austin's boss on your shelf?" And he said, and he's like, "He's worth way more than the original, whatever." So I went on eBay and I looked, and Oscar Goldman is not worth more than, if you've got a Steve Austin in the box, it's worth thousands.
Yeah. Oh, I can imagine. I didn't even know they made an Oscar Goldman.
But
he was never one of our sought after action figures, I guess.
Like, these old guys are talking about 1970s toys here. I want to talk about guns.
Well, and getting to that, you brought up the old GI Joes, the 12-inch, or the 12 inches, I guess, the 12-inch GI Joes.
Yeah, they were like 11 or 12 inches.
Yeah, I think they call them like 12-inch GI Joes. But and keeping with our AK thing, they had an AK, replica that was the size and fit the.
Yep.
And I remember having that. Again, it wasn't mine; it was my brother's. They all had the 12-inch GI Joe, so I got the hand-me-downs. I never got one of my own. And they had the one where you could pull the string in his chest and he would talk.
Yeah, they had a variety of them, and because that was in the Vietnam era.
Yeah, they had all like Vietnam era weapons and kit and gear that they came with.
GI Joe had an M14. There's an M14 that he had, and all that stuff, and a 45. And yeah. So let's talk about Citizen Soldier. So anyway,
Citizen Soldier. That's what all started this.
Yeah. So I what I'm doing right now is I'm taking the original Patriot Fire Team manual, the equipment guide, and the mission planner, putting them into a trilogy, and to give the audience something new, something fresh, some brand new material, I wrote a new foreword called basically The Citizen Soldier Examined, talking about the concept and the idea. And in the United States, if you're a gun person, it's not really new to you, or it's not really unique or whatever. But if we take a moment and we look at the concept of the citizen soldier, of the citizen who actually is trained and is armed, but isn't necessarily a part of an organized military unit, you don't fall under the control of the government, right? Mm-hmm. Like a citizen soldier, they're controlled basically by themselves and they're in like the group that they're a part of, a community. And
do they call those militias?
Yeah, if you read the book Paul Revere by, I can't remember the author's name right now. It's a good thick book, and it talks about Paul Revere, but not just about Paul Revere, but about that entire time frame leading up to April of 1775. And we all know the term militia, but a lot of people don't know the term training band. And the groups of citizens organized in New Hampshire and Massachusetts and New York and so forth, often they weren't called militias, they called themselves training bands. And a training band was essentially a group of citizen soldiers who agreed to get together monthly or quarterly or whatever and drill, right? They called it drilling. And they would go to the drill field. And every community, and so that's the thing about our old communities, they all had a centralized drill field that was specifically designed for the guys, the citizens, every Saturday morning or every other Saturday morning or whatever,
like
to go out there and train. Yeah,
that's what they call the National Guard does.
And if you think about it,
weekend drills.
Yeah, but here's the difference: a citizen soldier or training band or militia they're only beholden to themselves and their peers and their community. They're there out of a sense of duty. It's not their job. They don't get paid to do it. They volunteer. And if the king or the lord or the whomever tells them to go do something that is against their conscience, they don't go. They don't have to go. They're not obligated to go. So the citizen soldier, you say, yeah, duh, that's pretty common. Actually, it's the exact opposite. If you go back in history, what's other than the United States, what's one of the most famous examples, Marty, of the citizen soldier?
Other than the United States?
There were 300 of them, and the 300.
The Spartans. The
Spartans. So in Spartan culture, they encouraged the idea of the citizen soldier. When you were a kid, if you were a physically fit young male, it wasn't maybe you can do this if you want to or if you're interested in it. No, it was considered duty, and you wouldn't even consider not training and not participating because it would be shameful. But in the world in which we live, most kings, emperors, lords, what have you, they're not down with the idea of the citizen soldier, because what happens if you train all of your adult men in arms, and they are armed and they have arms on them, and they decide that you as the king are screwing up, or the emperor or the czar or the whatever,
or the president?
Well, they don't like that. Or the president or the governor.
Yeah.
They don't like that. They don't like that crap. So generally, and you say, well, how do they fill their armies? Well, they would wait until they were getting ready to invade Persia or Egypt or wherever, and they would draft their conscription, right? They go out amongst the peasantry, and they're like, here's the deal, peasants, you're going into the army, and you don't have a choice. Here we go. But they were under the control of the king, the lord, the whatever, and they had to do what he said, whether they morally agreed with it or not. You see, that's the big difference between a person who's active duty military and a citizen soldier, is the citizen soldier is not obligated to violate their own conscience. Now, you say, if you're active duty military, you might say, well, yeah, I'm not either, because when I went to basic training, they taught us. They said, hey, these are the rules of war, the articles of war. We actually learned about the Constitution in basic training. We learned, and we were told that following orders is not an excuse to violate the law. So if you violate the law, the rules of war, the Constitution, just because someone told you to do it and you did it, that's not a free pass.
Yeah. We had that here in the United States called the draft.
Yeah, we did. For a long time. Because why? Because we lost our way, Marty. We were founded as a nation of citizen soldiers, and then what happened? Civil War.
The Civil War? I was thinking there was something before that, but I guess the Civil War, yeah.
Yeah, and if you kids who went to public schools and didn't learn much, look up the New York draft riots. See how many people died. Like, they're going to spend $100 billion investigating the January 6th insurrection, where the only people that were killed by the state. Look up the draft riots.
It was in 1863, sometimes referred to as the Manhattan Draft Riots, and known at the time as Draft Week, were violent disturbances in Lower Manhattan, widely regarded as the accumulation of white working class discontent with new laws passed by Congress that year to draft men to fight in the ongoing American Civil War. The riots remain the largest civil and most racially charged urban disturbance in American history.
How many people died? A lot.
Let's see if it gets to that here pretty quick. 120, about 120 is what it says. Official death
120 deaths, and we're going to spend $100 billion on the January 6th insurrection. But I bet you 99% of your audience didn't learn that in school about the New York draft riots.
I don't know that I did.
Yep.
Well, let's get back to your books. So you're doing these books.
All right. So the book.
We got off topic a little bit there.
Yep. Oh, yeah.
Also a historian.
If you,
which is why he's called Professor Paul.
The equipment guide. I talk about you get down into the weeds, into the nitty gritty about arms and what arms should your team possess, and so on and so forth. And essentially, you've got it broken down in the United States to two central platforms: the AR platform and the AK platform. And
you know who's rolling in their grave right now?
James. Yeah,
you just said platform.
He hated the term platform, but I got to use it.
It's okay. You smack my wrist when I say it, so I got to smack yours.
Oh, I know. And I do it lovingly. And
I know.
But the AK, and here's the thing that I don't know if you hear. A lot of people are like, oh man, the AR is great because it's like a Mr. Potato Head because you can modify it, customize it, and all the different stuff on it. And that's nice. And I do it, and that's cool. But it's not an absolute. The idea that, well, if this gun, if I can't change out the forend without using tools, and if it doesn't have M-lock on it, then it's no good.
Yeah.
It's not really true. We need to focus on what's the mission. What do I want to do with this gun?
Right, because they are ultimately tools.
That's right. It's
and
ultimately a tool.
What configuration is this tool going to get you the best success for the job that you're trying to accomplish? And at the time when the AK-47 was designed, it was designed around the 7.62x39 bullet, and for that round, the rifle was made, and that's where we got the AK-47. Mikhail Kalashnikov back in 1947. Of course, it was before that when he actually designed it and testing and did all that. And you guys can go back to listen to previous episodes. We've done the history. I'm not going to do a history on our Season 5 first episode here, but just to introduce new people that are just getting into the AK, it does have a rich history, and it has been around for many, many, many years, and the design is basically the same. The design hasn't changed hardly any since the original AK-47 design. The AKMs, they went from forged to milled receivers, or milled to stamped. Thank you, receivers, and that was probably the big change that they made, and they did that for they wanted to make it lighter, easier, cheaper to produce, and for the most part, you don't get much difference between a stamped and a milled. And that's what you see most of the AKs today, especially the American mades. I don't think is there any American company that's doing a milled receiver? I mean, there might be one or two. Was it the C39? The Century C39? Yeah, but they don't make that anymore.
Well, they did. Yeah.
Yeah.
Century did for a while. They were making milled receivers. And the truth is, they were really good. They were really well made. And one of the things you can do with a milled receiver is you can flare the mag well.
Mm-hmm.
And if you've ever used a stamped receiver and you're changing mags, then somebody hands you a milled receiver with a flared mag well, it's almost like it sucks the magazine right in. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's
like an
crazy.
AR flared magazine. It helps with the feed. And
wow, that was fast and cool. But you pay for it because a milled receiver weighs about a pound more than a stamped receiver.
Yeah.
So there is the added weight. So if you don't want the weight,
you get the added weight, you get the added durability, arguably, between the two. But yeah, we were going to talk American manufacturing with Palmetto State Armory today, but due to scheduling conflicts, that's not going to happen. I know that we made a post, and several of you had posted some questions for them. So we're going to try to get them on in another episode and get your questions answered. But we're still going to do giveaways today. So as we normally do, I'm going to go through those people who participated. And Seal 1, sponsors of Talking Lead AK Corner, we're going to be giving away one of their cleaning packages from one of you lucky listeners. And Mission First Tactical, also sponsors of the Talking Lead AK Corner, we're going to give away one of their awesome dump trays. Dun, dun, dun. And if you listen to our previous just normal episode, we had from Seal 1, we had Dwight Settle on, and they've got a new complete gun cleaning kit that has the tools also. They've started manufacturing their own cleaning tools. So you got your cleaning rod, the handle, and tips. So they're going to start making those kits. Those aren't available yet, but once those become available, we're going to give away some of those to you listeners as well. And of course, Mission First, you guys heard, if you've been listening to our SHOT Show episodes that we've been dropping, they released at SHOT Show, they've got a new magnetic holster. It uses magnets for the retention, so you don't have those screws and those little rubber things that go in for the retention. You know how you ever been to the range, Paul, and you see all these little washers and screws where they come loose out of people's holsters and they're just laying around, or I'm sure you've experienced yourself where you're like, hey, what the hell, my holster's loose. You lose a screw. Their magnetic retention system does away with all that, so you don't have to worry about those screws anymore. It's pretty cool. Did you have an opportunity to see it?
No, I didn't, but that's interesting.
Yeah, I don't have one yet. They haven't sent me one yet, but it's pretty cool. So it's at the where your muzzle will go in toward the bottom of the holster. There's a guide rod that your barrel will go through, and then it goes right in down to the magnet, and then the magnet, it's like a 12-pound retention, holds it in place. So it's pretty cool. Pretty cool.
Interesting.
Stuff. Yeah, pretty interesting. And then they also came out with their belly band holster. So like a Velcro elastic type material that for you joggers, you runners, you want a more sleek profile.
For ladies.
Carry. It's for anybody. For men.
But I've noticed that a lot of because men's clothing are made for function and women's clothing is made for fashion. I
guess. Yeah.
Now, it's hard for when women get into concealed carry. It's generally really hard for them to find stuff that fits and works.
Well, yeah, because in today's society, they're doing more form-fitting clothes, and they don't wear those. What are those dresses called that your grandma wore? The big.
The moo-moo?
The moo-moo. They don't wear the moo-moos much anymore. Let me share my screen here for our viewing audience. And that's kind of what you're talking about there. So this is their new belly band holster. And it's got a lot of real estate on it. So they've utilized the belly band to wear not only just your holster, but you'll be able to carry your light, your knife, a spare mag. If you've got your ID, some money. So really cool idea, really cool concept that Mission First has come out with this. We'll probably be giving away a couple of those throughout the AK Corner this season too. So be paying attention. Participate whenever we make posts on the social medias asking for your questions. We draw winners from that too. So you've got suggestions for the show, talkinglead@gmail.com. Topics, guests you want to have on, email me, let me know. If we use one of those, again, you're participating. That's where we get our winners for our prizes that we give away. And we just did a $10,000 giveaway during the month of December. We gave away 4 firearms in that. A slew of primary arms optics was included in that. All kinds of cool stuff. We gave away gun cases. Really cool, fun giveaway. So make sure you're watching our social medias, keeping up, participate, listen, and win.
I see the VZ58 one there.
Yeah, so that was a fun episode that we did last year. This is our second episode that we did. We talked about the Czech VZ58. Paul was on that episode. We had Curtis Hallstrom.
So that was exactly 1 year ago.
It wasn't it? February 15th, yeah. So right at it, definitely. So that I was just kind of scanning through and all the cool stuff that we talked about last season. The VZ58 was one of those. We talked about muzzle devices and triggers. We had the guys from Dissonant Arms on. We talked about the Kalash Bash event that they put on. We had Niels Gravilius on, and we talked about the Yugo Zastava M70. It was a good year. We had some great topics, great guests. There you see we had Fuller on. What was that? Episode 6, and we did some home build tips and tricks. So good year, good episodes that we had. We're going to have even more this year. And a lot of these episodes were from suggestions that you guys had and things that you wanted for us to talk about. So talkinglead@gmail.com. Send me your suggestions for season 5, and I can go ahead and start lining those up for later on this year. And of course, we're going to do the AK-47 versus the AR-15 round 3 this year.
Uh-huh.
And you haven't been on one of those yet, have you, Paul?
No.
Okay, we got to get you on the next one of those. So we go against the guys from the AR-15 podcast. Do you know those guys? Have you met them yet?
Yeah.
Yeah, Dooley and he's going to kill me. I forget the other guy's name, but he wasn't on this year. But yeah, it's a good little tete-to-tete that we do with those guys. It's fun. We did a little folders and furniture episode with you. You remember that one, episode 8?
Oh, wow. Wow.
Joe Moe was on that episode.
Thank you. I remember that.
Yeah.
Yeah, because he came in, he was having a swap cooler problem.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. That was fun. We gave away did we give away 2 BFT-47s last year? I know we gave away 1. Oh, and then we auctioned off one with Sheepdog Impact Assistance. So we raised some money for Sheepdog Impact Assistance, so appreciate all you lead heads that took part in that. That was a good fundraiser.
I meant to get up with him at SHOT Show, and I didn't. I'm a jerk.
What happened?
Did he come by the booth?
Who?
The Sergeant Major.
Oh, Sergeant Major. I don't think he came this year.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I don't think he made it. Yeah, Lance.
Yeah,
Sergeant Major
we did the show right before SHOT Show in December, and I sent him an email, and I was like, hey, man, we should talk at SHOT, and you know how that is. Yeah,
that doesn't always happen. But yeah, so it was a good year. And then, like I said, our plans for this episode kind of got put on a hiatus. So Paul and I are just kind of winging it right now for this episode. So I apologize. Shit happens, and then we're stuck to improvise, and that's what we're doing right now. What about? Let me go to some of the questions here that you guys did say. Maybe there's something that we could go over. You and I.
Yeah, if it's about manufacturing AKs, I'm going to pass.
Yeah, we're going to be. Is heat treating more critical in AK production than AR production? Well, what is the greatest learning curve in building AK rifles after primarily building ARs? Well, there's nothing. And for one, you're not building. You're putting together ARs.
Well, see, yeah, that's the thing is people are like, oh, you didn't build it, you just assembled it. I'm like, okay, I don't have a forge. I can't ream barrels and
yeah. But I mean, people know we know what you're talking about. So yeah. I'm not going to beat somebody up if they say they built an AR, Right. I say the same thing. I've built.
Well, that's like say if somebody says they built an engine for their car. They're like, I don't imagine that you smelted the metal and poured it out and forged it.
Exactly.
You got the parts and put them all together.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm not a purist in that sense. If you say you built an AR, I understand what you're saying. If you say you manufactured one, then that's different. It's a little different. But
yeah, you can't say that. You'll get in trouble.
That's true. Government might come after you. The greatest learning curve. What would you say the greatest learning curve in building an AK versus an AR is? Again, you got to know the parts, different parts.
Well, I'll tell you this, that you can. I've replaced triggers. I've switched out trigger groups in AKs and all of the furniture. I've swapped out stocks and fore ends and grips and all that, and that's all pretty straightforward and easy. It's the trunnion barrel gas system assembly that you don't just do at your workshop. You know what I mean? You don't just do it at your workbench, or your kitchen table. That needs to be done under the watchful eye of a professional. That was actually the sadly the Achilles heel for our buddy Brian at Occam for his sight tower was you couldn't do it at home.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a fantastic idea. It's a genius idea, but it's got to be installed by somebody, a professional
who has
with
the
a
tools.
dedicated manufacturing facility.
Yeah.
You can't do it at your kitchen table. The truth is, with an AR, if you had parts, if you had all the parts and the appropriate tools, like a barrel wrench and stuff like that, but if you have all the parts, you can. You don't even need a vise. It's nice to have a vise, but you don't have to have one. You could do it on your kitchen table if you needed to.
Well, it's the tools that you need, I guess, would be the biggest learning curve, because you need more specialized tools for assembling an AK than you do an AR. Especially because you got to press that barrel in. You got to have a barrel press. And if you don't get a receiver that's already folded and riveted, then there's more tools that you're going to need, because you're going to need to bend your receiver. So you're going to need a tool for that. You're going to need a rivet tool, to put your rivets in. So a little more involved, quite a bit more involved in building an AK than an AR.
Which is kind of funny, because people look at the AK and they assume that it was built by peasants in caves.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, that's just a piece of crap, and they just build it in a cave. I mean, it's like peasants build it in a cave, and actually, that's not really the case at all.
It's a highly engineered piece of equipment.
Oh yeah, Kalashnikov was no fool. He was a smart dude.
Yeah. What's his famous saying? Something about. I've got it here, and I use this in the very first episode. All that is complex is not useful, and all that is useful is simple. So what he's saying by that is that keep it simple, stupid.
Well, not only that, but we have this tendency as Americans to complicate things to the point of our own detriment. We make things more complicated or complex than they need to be. Yeah. Because we have this illusion that the more complicated it is, the better it is. You know what I mean? They're like, oh, it's not that simple. It's super complex. I'm like, well, if it's super complex, then it's probably not a great idea.
Yeah.
It would be better if it was simple.
Let's see. Glautru, how did PSA go about designing the spiker?
Very careful.
Same specs. When there's another Palmetto from Flood. AK Corner, so stoked to see AK Corner Season 5 back. And for those who don't know Flood Munitions, that's Evan Floodman, and he was my right-hand man at SHOT Show this year. So all the cool pictures and videos and everything we did there, he helped me do all that. So props to Evan. Mustang Perry, what is everyone's opinion on why more manufacturers have not started producing American AKs? It's money, man. It's profit margin. What's selling.
And we just talked about it, Marty. It's, I was actually talking to the guys at Kalashnikov USA.
Yeah.
And the reality is we got super spoiled. When the Soviet Union collapsed and they broke up into all the little individual states, Romania and Yugoslavia and, Czech Republic, and when Yugo broke up, what did they have? They didn't have money. But they had guns, right? They had guns, they had ammo, pieces, parts. And so Americans, Century, and several other companies, they went to the former Soviet Union with cash in hand, and they said, we got American dollars. What do you have? And those dudes are like, what do you want? Yeah. They're cracking open Connex boxes. They're like, And I know a couple of those guys, one of them really closely. He said they showed me stuff for sale that I knew I couldn't bring back to America. He said, but it was really cool.
But he wanted it. Yeah. Can you buy it and leave it there?
Yeah, we got RPGs. You know, what do you want? But so that's when the late '90s and going into the 2000s is when we had this flood of super cheap, inexpensive AKs. And so Americans, they started equating AK with cheap, right?
Right.
Back in the days of the $300 Wassers.
Yeah.
They're like, shit, AK's only $300. This is a cheap piece of shit. No, it was a good deal because they wanted American dollars, and back then the American dollar was still strong. And so our guys, our companies in America, we got smoking deals. Remember the cases of like $99 cases of 7.62, like the ham cans?
Yeah.
You could get a ham can of 7.62 for $99.
Yeah.
You could get an SKS and a can of ammo for $99 out the door.
Yeah. Yeah.
Smoking deals.
But that's why, because they were having fire sales overseas, and there were some entrepreneurial Americans that went over there, saw the opportunity, and brought them over here. And of course, those days are long gone.
Those days are gone.
The days are long gone. And
so the reality is it's not, building an AK is not, quote, cheap. And it just as much goes into making a good, functioning, workable AK. We had some American companies that were assembling parts kits that were kind of stinky for a while there. But a really good AK should cost you $900 to $1,000.
In today's market.
In today's market, just a standard AK.
Some people, I went on KUSA's site the other day, and they're up to like $3,000 on some of their, kitted out ones, more elaborate ones.
How many super cool things you want on it?
Yeah, that's KUSA. So American manufacturers. Let's say KUSA is one, Century Arms is one. Now we've got Palmetto State, which they bought DPMS. Palmetto State owns DPMS, which it's the same manufacturer, Palmetto State and DPMS. And I'm not saying that there's any quality difference in the two. I think you're probably getting just as good quality. And PSA makes a good quality AK. For the money. You got to look at, again, you're looking at the money, the price point, what you're getting. Riley Defense, they say those are American made in the USA. They're another North Carolina company, I do believe.
Who's the one out of Arizona? K-Var?
Well, you got Fuller up there.
There's another one that's slipping my mind that is a high-end AK.
You got Dissonant. The guys at Dissonant Arms, but they're not really manufacturing those right now. They're just kind of they're doing the shotguns, the AK-12s, which those are really nice. And then you've got Fuller's other company. What was the former company that he was with in Vegas? You know what I'm talking about? Rifle Dynamics, yeah, RD. Rifle Dynamics. Who else? There's a few other ones.
Yeah,
but those are the big ones right there.
The Cadillac of AKs, or the Mercedes-Benz of AKs, or whatever you want to call it, is the Occam. The ODS 1775 it's the Cadillac of American-made AKs.
Yeah.
But any hooser. So I guess the question is do you have to have a tricked out, converted modular AK, or can you can you do what you need to do with a stock AK, a wooden stock AK? Mm-hmm. Can you do what you need to do with that? And I think the answer is yes. As a matter of fact, I think the answer, if you're going to be an honest individual, if you're going to be honest with yourself, what I would do is I would get a stock AK first, go to a 2-day class, like a fighting rifle class or whatever, and then when you come out on the other end, then you'll be better versed. You'll be better able to say, okay, it would have been better if I would have had blank, whatever, a different pistol.
Well,
grip,
that goes with anything. You're not going to know what you need until you go and find out, one, why you need it. What are you using it for? And then you go train for, what you think you're going to need it for. And then that's when you're going to find out what else you need, if anything. So train. That's how you're going to figure out what it is that you want and need. But, the AK has been around, for many, many years. It's the most prolific rifle in the world. There's, I don't know, over 100 million. Is that what the estimates are now that exist?
Insane. Almost an incalculable.
50 billion. I don't know. I'm going to throw a number out there.
I don't think it's that many, but it's a lot.
There is a lot. But now, you look at all the rifles that were derived from the AK and the improvements that's been done to make that design better and more effective. And, the Galil is one of those.
Yeah, the Galil, the Valmet.
The Valmet, the Galil. Is it making the AK-47, kind of an antique, like a Mosin? Is it one day going to be looked at like a Mosin? The gun, the technology.
Look at where the Russians are now. They're like, what are they, 105? I think they're on 105 now. I can't even keep up with all the numbers anymore.
Yeah.
The AK-100, AK-105, AK-104, all these different things. And the hardcore, the purists and the geeks know, they're like, no, the 4 is this, and the 105 is this, and the 100 is this. I'm like, okay, cool.
Yeah, I don't know the difference in all those just right off. I would have to look them up, but yeah. So, I don't know. They're constantly improving, and at some point it's going to be something different. It's not going to be the AK anymore, but does that make it, any less desirable? No. It's still one of the most sought after, especially in America. If you can get an imported AK, you need to get one now because those are going away. They're becoming extinct. So if you have an opportunity to get an imported AK, then get an imported AK. But there's nothing wrong with an American-made AK. They're great. American technology has gone in again, improving the process and improving the materials that they're made out of, making them stronger, more durable, longer lasting, and then accessorizable, which is what we like to do here in America. We like to accessorize things, and Occam's done a big part in that with their with the handguard that they came out. What's he call that again?
The Merc.
The Merc. There you go. The Merc.
The Merc rail.
I got one hanging up back here. But
yeah, the Merc rail it's fantastic. And what's to give Brian credit, the gun is lighter than it looks.
Oh yeah.
When you look at it, you're like, ooh, that looks like a big rifle, or
it's going to weigh 15 pounds. Yeah.
Yeah, it looks like it would be heavy, but then you pick it up and you're like, whoa. This is not heavy at all, and it has really great balance to it. So, yeah, he's doing a lot of really good stuff up there in Idaho.
In Moscow.
In Moscow, Idaho. Crazy.
Or Moscow. I don't know what they call it up there. But, Brian, but let's run through some more of these other questions. Most of these are PSA questions, and like I said, we'll get them on a later episode and get these answered for you guys. This is a silly question, and why would you even ask this? If you're on my Instagram, and I've got links in my bio, this guy asks, Bryce Snyder, where can we find the podcast? That doesn't even deserve an answer, does it? So here's the thing, Bryce. If you found where our podcast is and you're listening to this now and you found us, I am going to give you a dump tray. You win a dump tray. So email me, talkinglead@gmail.com, and that's how you claim your prize, Bryce. Hopefully you know this thing called Google and you were able to find where our podcasts are.
Was it LMGFYU? Let me Google that for you. That's still a thing.
Let me Google that for you.
Yeah, let me Google that for you.
Yeah. Let's see. Ryan Reisner. And Ryan was one of the winners of our prize packets of that $10,000 giveaway that we did. He won.
Sounds familiar.
He won the Keltec prize package, the Sub 2000. So Ryan says, do you guys think the skepticism and critical critiquing of American AKs versus Russian AKs is helping American AK manufacturers develop a better product or hindering it? P.S. The Palmetto State Armory AK-105 is the next rifle I plan to get. Cool. So I don't know exactly what he's asking there. Critiquing of American AKs versus Russian AKs is helping American AK manufacturers develop a better product or hindering it. I think American manufacturing is always striving to be the best. So if you're saying critiquing in that Russian AKs are better than American AKs, I would assume that, yeah, like I said, the American competitiveness is always there, especially in our manufacturing, and we're always strive to be better, and especially against Russians, one up the Russians. Yeah. Make their own product better than them.
They started it, it would make sense that that they would be the forerunners and the leaders in the industry. And to be fair, to be honest, about 10 years ago, maybe going on 15 now, there was some really sloppy stuff coming out of some American gun makers. In the when the assault weapons ban sunset back in 2004.
Yeah.
When it sunset, there was a lot of guys that they smelled blood in the water or money in the water, and they just bought up parts kits and pieces and started cobbling them together. And to be fair, there was some less than stellar stuff coming out of some of these companies, which is where people get the American guns are crap, whatever. But it obviously wasn't always the case.
Yeah.
But there were some that were they were stinky. They were stinky because they were just trying to make them and get them out the door and sell them as fast as they could while while people were buying. So, and a lot of those companies have gone away. They've gone by the wayside, shall we say, because the parts kits are drying up. The parts kits aren't what they were. It used to be you could just go to Romania and buy a shitload of parts kits and come back and take the American, the 92F whatever requirements and stick shit on it.
Yeah.
But today that's kind of the market.
22R compliance, 922R compliance.
Yeah, 22R.
That's something you don't have to worry about an American-made AK either. Is that doesn't come into play, so you can put any part you want on your American-made AK. So you can go and, literally, you could go and change out all the parts to imported parts, and there you go.
That was another. Don't get me started on that bureaucratic horse crap.
Yeah,
like they just arbitrarily decided, you have to have 10 parts or whatever. Like, go fuck yourself.
Exactly.
Go fuck your dog. I don't want to hear from you, you bureaucratic pieces of shit. But I don't want to get jacked up about that. But yeah, it's a different world. It's. I guess it's the plight of man to not realize that you are living in the good old days. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, these are the good old days, as James Yeager says. He's like, you talk about the good old days. Well, these are the good old days.
Yeah,
you are living in the good old days. So, again, if you see, and it's within your budget, you see an imported AK or a parts kit, that's a good decent parts kit. And we've talked about it in past episodes too, and we'll probably talk about it again this year. What to look for in a parts kit and. Building AKs, we'll get more into that and get some other people on and get their opinions on building AKs, get tips and tricks in future episodes this year. But, do it. Go buy it now. Don't wait for prices to go down, because they're not going to go down. They're going to continue to skyrocket. So if you get an opportunity to get one, trade for one. You know, you got a couple ARs or something laying around, or, you know, shotguns or pistols or whatever, and somebody wants to trade you, trade. You know, barter. That's the American way.
Yeah. And, you know, with the ammo thing, we got really spoiled with all this super cheap surplus ammo.
Yeah.
And I was kind of polling the manufacturers and importers and stuff at SHOT this year. And what they told me is they're like, look, there'll still be some import stuff. They said, but the days of the bargain basement, the super good deals on surplus ammo are over. They say they're pretty much over. We're not going to see those again.
Yeah. I don't know. You never know with the ammo. I mean, there's so much ammo still in those other countries, and
yeah, but right now the Ukrainian war, all right, the Russians aren't going to send us anything, and we can't get it from anyway because Joe Biden, and the Europeans and the former Soviet states, they're stockpiling. You know, they're stockpiling because everybody believes that Putin is going to do a spring offensive.
Yeah.
That once mud season's over, he's going to do a spring offensive. So the Europeans are preparing for that. The Eastern Europeans, the former Soviet states, like, you know, the Romanias and the Czech Republics and the Slovakias, and everybody who's a neighbor over there is nervous. All the neighbors of Ukraine are nervous, and they're holding on to stuff. And I've also been told, and I think we talked about this when you were on our show, that the propellant powder manufacturers, a lot of it is was being allotted to military contracts.
Yeah.
So if you've got a company where, if you know, the military of XYZ countries said goes to a Australian powder manufacturer and like, this is how much we want, and it gets allotted to military contracts, that means it's not going into the commercial market, which means the prices aren't necessarily going to be going down. So, you know, we've been telling our audience since we got back from SHOT, look, if you're waiting for, you know, 10-cent 9 mil and 20-cent 5.56 before you buy again, that's not happening. With inflation, with the war, with powder, the idea that I'm just going to wait until it gets cheaper and buy it, it's not happening, bro. Yeah. If you need ammo, you need to get it. That's it. Because it's there. It might not be the price you want to pay for it, but it's there. Eventually, it's going to be back to a situation where it's not there. And then it'll be, if you can find it, you're just going to pay whatever they want for it.
Yeah. So let's give some stuff away here. We'll give away
stuff away.
That one guy, you know, contact me. If you find us, you get a tray. So for people who ask the questions, let's go to... I got to bring it back up. I closed it. How about the very first one that I came across there, which was the, I think, Raider 214. What were some of the biggest growing pains in the process of getting PSA AK line current level? Obviously, we're not going to answer some of this stuff, but for participating, Raider 214, you win the SEAL 1 cleaning kit package. Complete gun care kit. And email me, talkinglead@gmail.com. I'll need your address. I'll forward that on to Dwight, and they will send you this. It's got their paste. It's got their CLP liquid. It's got a rag. It's got their pre-soaked skins, their bore patches. They call them the skins. It's got a brush in there. So all your basic cleaning stuff that you need for your rifle. Send that to you. Thanks to SEAL 1. Go to seal1.com. Use the code LEADHEAD. You're going to get 25% off anything there.
Gracious.
I'm going to go to email for our next winner. And this came from Jordan Kincart. And it says, "Hey, Lefty, I would love to hear you and the guys talk about the AK pattern shotguns." Which we did that on an episode with Dissident Arms, but we talked, I think, more about their shotguns. I think that would help bring a lot of folks into the AK community. I personally know countless people that picked them up about 10 years ago when they sold for $400, again, the good old days, $400 to $600, and love them, but are not your traditional tactical rifle crowd. With ammo prices and availability, what it is currently, the most popular round I see everywhere is 12 gauge, and it is still cheap. Low round count drills make me sad. Let's put some serious lead down range. Sincerely, Jordan Kincart. Jordan. And he says Iowa leadhead, so he's up there in Iowa. Cool. So, Jordan, I appreciate the email, and yes, we will talk more AK pattern shotguns. And you win a dump tray from Mission First Tactical. So email me, talkinglead@gmail.com. I'll need your shipping address, and we'll forward that over to the guys at Mission First, and you'll get a dump tray, my friend. So thank you very much. There's probably some other ones here too, but I'll go over those in upcoming episodes. But guys, email me, talkinglead@gmail.com. You've got questions, you got comments. Maybe you hear us say something that's inaccurate, or you want to add to maybe some things that we've said on the show here. talkinglead@gmail.com. Or the Instagrams too. You know, that a lot of people, you know, get in conversations when I make these posts, and I love seeing your conversations back and forth from one another there as well. So you can hit me up there on the grams too. And then Paul mentioned I was on an episode with him recently. Has that been posted yet?
Yeah, that's been up for 2 weeks.
Has it been? It's not been 2 weeks. It's been a week.
Has it been only a week?
Yeah, it's not been 2 weeks.
Okay, maybe it was a week ago.
Yeah, I think it was last week.
Yeah, it was last week that we recorded and released it on Wednesday. So there you go.
There you go. So you guys can go listen to me say to Paul a couple of times on his his podcast. When Paul you're used to doing a one-man show, Paul. So you know how to keep it going, and it's hard to cut in when you're talking. So I just let you roll, brother. So
well, we did. I was talking to the boys, and there was some satellite delay too.
Oh, was there?
Yeah, there was some satellite delay. So I would stop talking and wait, and then nobody would say anything. So I just start saying stuff, and Jared's like, he goes, "Yeah, but by the time we realized that you were pausing because of the satellite, you'd already started talking again."
Yeah, it was like
when we do the satellite ones, you have to say over.
Let me talk.
Over. Yeah, I just did a Vimeo interview with Kayla at Talking Lead, or not Talking Lead,
Tactical Response. Yeah,
and it was the same way. There was a satellite thing, so yeah, she would stop. Or I would stop, and we'd have to wait.
That's one thing we don't have here on Skype is we don't have a freaking delay. Have we ever had a delay? I don't think we've ever had a delay. I can't think of a delay. We've had some like choppy signals, but
we'll see.
We'll see what happens. All right, guys. I don't have anything else that I want to talk about this episode. I just want to kick off, let everybody know that we're back. We're bringing the AK Corner, the AK goodness back to you guys. If there's a different pattern rifle that you want us to talk about, like we did the VZ58, the Valmet, we did an episode on the Galil, some comm block or foreign gun you want us to talk about outside the AK, we're open to that too. We'll bring in the experts. I'm not the expert. I bring the experts on the show, like Paul Markel. So we get their knowledge, we get their take. You know, some people will come up to me and go, "Lefty, you don't know much about AKs as I thought you did." Well, I don't know a lot about AKs. That's why I have all these experts on, and you know, I'm learning just like you guys are. That's my whole goal. I've just, like I said, been doing this for 5 years now. I know a lot more than I did when I started. Yeah,
that's kind of the goal.
That's my whole goal. I love so many other firearms too. I love my ARs. I love my bolt actions. I love my shotguns. I love my pistols. So I'm into a lot of different things. So archery, just got into archery. I got my first crossbow this past year. Got my first harvest with my Center Point 430X Wrath, and so I've got a whole lot of other interests. So I don't just live, breathe, and die AKs, but I really do enjoy the AK Corner, and I enjoy having experts on the show to hear their opinions. And I love hearing from you lead heads too, and I love hearing about your passion about the AK. So keep those emails coming. Keep the conversations going on the social medias, the Instagrams, and remember to participate, listen, and that's how you win on this podcast. And I'm sure we're going to give away just as many firearms this season as we did last season. We gave away.
Let's hope. Here's hoping.
Gave away. I don't know how many guns we gave away between the normal podcast, the AK Corner, and our just giveaway stuff. Probably over a dozen. I don't know. I know I don't get any of those.
No.
I didn't get a dozen guns, but we take care of you listeners. You take care of us, and we take care of you. They take care of our sponsors, Mission First Tactical. Go to Mission First Tactical, use the code LEADHEAD. You get 20% off. That even goes for their new products that they have. You get 20% off those new holsters that they've got, the new belly bands. They got some more stuff coming later this year. We'll get them on, talk about that. Seal One, for all your gun cleaning, gun care need, you go to seal1.com, use the code LEADHEAD, and you're going to get 25% off. Now, he's not going to offer that for those new cleaning rod systems that he's going to have out because his margin is so low on those. He's offering them at really good prices right now. So once those come out, those codes won't work for that, but it'll work for everything else. But you really want to protect your firearms and keep that corrosion away. Seal One is the product for you. Leadhead, 25% off. You want to get the cool Leadhead AK Corner shirts, apparel, hoodies. You get the AK Corner stuff at Factory 47, FAKTORY 47.com. And we're going to give you 10% off. You use the code LEADHEAD there. And that works on not just the AK Corner, but any of his products there at Factory 47. You get 10% off. So our good buddy James over there taking care of you lead heads. And then go show IWI US some love. We still don't have a discount code for them, but maybe I can get one this year. So I'll talk to Jeremy, see if I can get a discount code for IWI. Won't be for the guns, but it'll be for their swag and stuff like that. And then Professor Paul, student of the gun, you can go to their store. They've got a pro shop there too. What do you call your store?
It's shopsotg.com.
Not STOG, it's SOGT.
Don't confuse people. Shopsotg.com. Okay.
I love confusing people. That's what I do.
Don't do that.
And you've got
the books are there, the med kits are there, the various things, the hats and T-shirts and all that stuff.
And then Paul and I have an episode coming up to where we are going to do a book review on the Nicholas Orr series of books.
Yes, we need to do that.
Because Nick won't come on. He likes to stay elusive. So he's given us permission to do our own kind of a book review of his.
Did you get into the third book yet?
I haven't started the third book yet, but that is my goal next month is to start that one.
Okay.
So right. And I had Stephen Hunter on, so I had to read his. Had to get his new book read, which is a really good book. You should check it out. The Bullet Garden. I listened to the audio version of it. I was looking for the hardcover. I don't have the hardcover. But it's set back in World War II. You know Bob Lee Swagger from Shooter, the movie Shooter. You saw the movie Shooter. Yeah, so it's from the book Point of Impact, which Stephen Hunter wrote. And he's written a whole series of Bob Lee Swagger books, fictional famous Marine sniper, Bob Lee Swagger. This is his dad, Earl Swagger. So it's a set back in the World War II days. And it's really good read. I know you lead heads will enjoy it. So go check that book out from Stephen Hunter. But
Is he as cool as Thomas Thrasher?
Bob Lee Swagger? Yeah.
Mm-hmm. He's as cool. They're like
they would be buds.
Equally cool dudes.
Yeah. And the Thrasher is the hero in Nicholas Orr's books. So they'd be buds. They'd get along really good. But that's my next read. And what's the third one called? I know I've got it. I just got to go get it off the shelf.
Operation Diomedes.
Operation Diomedes.
Book. Yeah, the jungle covered book. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So that's my next read, and Paul and I to come book review for that. Who else are we going to have on with us for that?
Oh, I don't know. Who else has read that book that's in our circle?
I don't know. If any of you lead heads are into the Nicholas Orr books and you've read them, email me and maybe we'll have you on with us to do the book review. That'd be fun.
Yeah. I know a lot of our listeners have bought the books and read the books.
Why don't we do that? Why don't we get one of the...
You know Dave Biggers?
Yeah, I know Dave.
Okay, Biggers is a big fan.
Okay.
He's a fan of the Nicholas Orr books.
Okay, well maybe we'll get him on with us.
Maybe we should get him on if we could. He's in Tennessee.
Yeah, he's just up the road.
Just up the road, so.
Just up the road there. Yeah, absolutely. Would love to have Dave on. I don't think he's ever been on. That would be awesome.
He's a good dude.
Yeah.
He's a good dude.
Absolutely. All right, Leadheads, that does it for this episode of the AK Corner. Appreciate everybody tuning in. We're going to bring it to you once a month, every month. So be paying attention, listening, and I'll be looking for your emails. And Paul, again, thank you for taking the time to be on. Greatly appreciate it. And
no problem.
And I'm sure you'll be on upcoming episodes as well. So there you go, Leadheads. Until next month, go clean your AK.